Before I start the show, heartfelt condolences to Don Szabo's family and close friends. The news of his death hit hard this week. I'll be putting out the 2 Szabo episodes of FNRad to honor his life in snowboarding. The FNRad Snowboard Podcast is presented by Flojoy Water. My new Burton gear has arrived, and I'm proud to have head-to-toe coverage. I've got an analog Gore-Tex jacket, Freebird 3L bibs, ruler boots, and a family tree hometown hero. The quality is absolutely unmatched, and most importantly for me, the boots rock right out of the box. It's been pure joy riding all new Burton gear. Go visit your local Burton dealer, or if you're in the Lower Mainland, check out the new Burton store at West 4th and Burrard. Bluebird Coffee Tuning and Rentals in Squamish, BC is the coolest new stop just 20 seconds off the Sea to Sky Highway on your way to Whistler. Drop in for the world's best cup of coffee, killer smoothies, and a true local vibe born out of 90s snowboard culture and music. They offer performance ski and snowboard tunes with state-of-the-art equipment. They've got premium rental fleets of Jones, Solomon, Libtech, and Burton, including Burton step-ons. And if you haven't gotten yourself one yet, Bluebird will even sell you a rad power bike. These bikes are so fun. For a blend of expert knowledge, convenience, and a lot of charm, stop in and say hi to Bluebird, the raddest mandatory new stop on your way to Whistler. Fixed bindings are now guaranteed for life. The new Block 5s are a perfect blend of performance and simplicity. I can adjust the straps on the fly without tools, and they're consistently comfortable and easy to get into and out of. All the new fixed bindings look and ride incredibly, so go buy fixed bindings today at your local fixed dealer or check out fixedbindingco.com. Anon Optics make the world's best snowboarding goggles. I just received a brand new pair of M6s, and the entire experience was FNRad. From the case they come in to the magnetic face mask and the quick change lenses, I have to say, Anon's got me covered for Vancouver's variable snow conditions. Check out Anon's helmets, goggles, and MFI face masks at an Anon dealer near you or at AnonOptics.com. Hey listeners, this one's for you. Upline Brewing is beer for snowboarders by longtime Pacific Northwest shredder and FNRad listener Carl Montoya, who started Upline so you can crack a cold one anytime. No buzz, no slowdown, just good vibes. Unlike most NA beers, these actually taste legit, and they're brewed with adaptogens for a mellow uplift. The Steezy Golden Lager and Crushin' IPA come in at just 25 and 50 calories and feature artwork from local legends like Quincy Quigg. Have one at lunch, grab another lap, hit the after party, and still wake up for first chair or the bank slalom podium. Drinking regular beers, toss some Uplines into the lineup. The natural electrolytes help you stay hydrated and keep crushing. FNRad listeners score 15% off at uplinebrewing.com with code FNRAD, or set up a subscription, save more, and never run out. Upline Brewing, brewed to adapt, crafted to elevate. Support also comes from the Pro Standard. Ken Achenbach has done it again with the push-button quick release for step-on bindings. Get them at prostandard.com before they sell out. Pacific Border, Vancouver's premium snow skate and surf shop on West 4th Avenue. Check out pacificborder.com. And 1910, the collaborative artworks of Jamie Lynn and Scof, two friends on a creative journey together, bonded by their love of art, music, and snowboarding. Go to the number 9, teen10.com for their latest collection. We need to thank our friends at Mount Seymour, Grouse Mountain, and Cypress Mountain for their continued support of FNRad, as well as Essential Toothpaste tabs. I love them, I use them, go buy them today. Chris Steeves was a standout pro on Invasion Snowboards from North Vancouver. Steeves landed covers on Transworld and Strength magazines, and his reputation as a respected pro snowboarder from the North Shore Mountains makes him a perfect guest for FNRad. Please enjoy this interview with Chris Steeves.
You know, skateboarding in the early 90s.
Yeah.
Way back.
Yeah.
And I mean, we can get into all that. But, you know, snowboarding, whatever year snowboarding kind of started to hit the scene and Canadian Tire had these cheap snowboards, you know,
Yeah.
black snow.
Yep.
And I was like, I want one.
Yeah.
And, you know, nobody knew what it was all about. Ski Hills didn't really know what was going on. And then kind of quickly decided that they're going to ban snowboards because, you know, if it didn't have metal edges, you couldn't use it. You had to have a leash, you know, a leg leash. And for a while, you had to have like a certification, I think.
Yeah.
You had to like pass a test.
I just saw a picture of a Canadian Snowboard Association certification card. And it looks quite a bit like the counterfeit card that I made up. Like just a picture of yourself, you know, like a school picture. And then like
a fake ID that you'd use to buy alcohol when you're 15.
Totally. So I showed up with a fake one. Exactly. I showed up with a fake one, and they were just like, you know what? We're going to do the test anyways. We haven't seen one of these ones before. We'll do one for you. I think there might have been an option to not pay to get the thing, right? Like it's free to just do the test, and then you're certified for the day. You know what I mean?
I'm trying to go back in my memory as to what we went through, but you know, there was ski hills that were saying no outright, like, we don't want you people here. And,
Yeah.
you know, you couldn't do it.
Yeah.
And then I remember being on a ski hill and I was with a couple other friends that had just bought their crap snowboards from Canadian Tire.
Yeah.
And they're like, okay, we're going to go up and we're going to do a run and we're going to see if you guys want to test your skill and make sure you're, you know, and out of like three of us, I think I was the only one that they're like, yeah, you can ride here. You passed, but the other guy's sorry, no.
That's
And
insanity.
like,
so then what do
was
your
ridiculous,
friends do?
though.
They
It
just
was
go
ridiculous.
home and you're there.
It was some obscure
riding.
Eastern Ontario small ski hill that like they didn't know, and you know, it was like,
That's
okay.
pretty wild. So what's your first pro board? Like, does that, you obviously you love the black snow thing.
Well, I didn't
enough
love it.
to-
It was like kind of all I knew at
Yeah,
the time.
yeah,
But then,
yeah.
you know, of course, Burton, Sims, Barefoot. Is it Barfoot or Bar? We call it Barfoot.
Yeah.
I was wondering
That's
how to
right.
pronounce that. You know, like Damian Sanders.
Hell yeah.
You know, Craig Kelly, Terry Kidwell, and those were the names back then. And it was
Totally.
like the Burton Cruiser and, you know, whatever else, the Sims Switchblade.
Totally.
So those boards, like, you know, were like, whoa, there's like a whole industry popping up here, and this is very cool.
Felt very
And
California.
It was so California,
Yeah,
and you know,
yeah.
you had like these bright colors and like pinks, and you know, this was 80s, and it was those bright, crazy colors with like pink headbands, and you know, that was an era, and like you couldn't help but be like pulled into it. You're like, this is cool. I haven't seen anything like this. It was so sick. All the trends and styles were very new and different.
Did you
it was
see
wild.
a video at that point, like a Snowboarders in Exile or Western Front or something like that?
Snowboarders in Exile was. You
What a
remember
movie.
that, huh?
Yeah, can't forget it. Yeah.
Well, I was thinking about this earlier when you mentioned this podcast, and you know, you think about the videos back then were such a big deal because there was no phones, there was no social media, there wasn't YouTube, you weren't Instagram, like we didn't have anything. So to finally get your hands on like a VHS tape of a snowboard video was gold, you know, for us anyway.
Yeah.
And you know, I like any one of my friends that had any of these videos, like it was always like, we're going to your house to watch it over and over and just analyze the whole video and dissect it, you know, until 6 months or whatever goes by, and like you can finally get another video, and then you're like, yes.
Yeah.
And, you know, obviously the frequency of videos starts to ramp up as they realize there's an industry, there's money, and you know, the sport's growing.
Yeah, those early videos gave us a kind of blueprint for like road trips. You know what I mean? Like they were
Absolutely.
They were driving around in a packed car, and
like every you know, this is gonna date me, this whole interview is gonna date me, sorry, but this is how it is. You know, going back to that era, it was every kid out there, this is what they were doing. It was a craze of, you know, late 80s through the 90s, and you know, we can go beyond, but they, you know, everybody would watch these videos and try and emulate or replicate what these, like whatever they were doing off the hill, on the hill,
Right.
whatever it is, like, we're going to try and copy your entire life, all the tricks you're doing, all the party antics,
Yeah.
you know, what, all the fashion trends, the baggy clothes. Like, the minute you saw it, you're like, okay, boom, now we got to do it. You know?
Totally. Who was your guy? Were you a Damien guy, Steve Graham, Dave Sione? Like,
Holy, I mean, all those names, I
Roach.
obviously watched all of them.
yeah,
You know, there was a Jamie Lynn era where he was
Yeah.
the smooth, like, switch guy.
totally.
Peter Line for a while, like, just dominated. And,
Totally.
you know, you want to go back further.
No,
like,
that's good.
Damian
That's good.
Sanders,
Yeah.
at the start.
Yeah.
I think when I first started, like, he was probably the guy. It was, like, maybe Damian Sanders, Craig Kelly, and, you know, there was, who's the guy that did the clown thing? Was a Sean
Palmer.
Palmer.
Yeah,
Sean
Palmer.
Was he? Yeah, he was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
big
So we're
time.
like going way
Yeah.
back.
Yeah.
Anyways, you know, like a bunch of great names and, you know, obviously the excitement of like, this is all brand new and we're all just kind of like discovering the boundaries of the sport and what could be done.
Truth.
And
So
well, obviously back then I sucked, you know.
how far did you take it while you're in Ottawa? Like, are you doing backflips when you're there? Are you...
So I moved out of there when I was like 17, just turning 18, kind of like end of my 17th year. And
yeah,
you know, Ontario and Quebec, to kind of summarize, because I'm back there now, the winters are pretty harsh, as we all know. You don't get powder riding the way BC does. You know, there's not really a powder day back there. Not
sure.
You know, not the way we know
Sometimes,
it here.
yeah. Sometimes you
A
get
little
a
more
freak-
snow than normal.
Yeah,
right?
totally.
But so kind of the best you hope for there is the spring conditions when it's, you know, it's warmish, 10 degrees, sun's shining, the snow's slushy.
True.
And ideally there's some jumps in park. And, you know, even back then they were just figuring out, like, how do you make a park? How big do these jumps go? How do you make a good rail? And, you know, just the progression of that. You know, it started from, you know, stick a log in the snow and try and slide it,
Totally.
or, you know, go to a construction site and steal a metal bar and jam it in the snow somewhere, and
Yep.
you know, to like these, you know, obviously today it's the best possible of everything.
Yeah.
But yeah, we were just trying to figure it out, like sliding on different stuff and learning different tricks, and not really knowing what the heck we're doing.
Just like emulating those videos. Yeah. Totally.
Like I could just talk for hours about, like, you know, the like levels of like understanding as you went through of, you know, what tricks became cool and how to do them, and the different, you know, that progression. It's, you know, it's crazy.
Yeah. So why do you move out here at 17 or 18? Does your family
Because
move,
okay,
or do
this
you
was
move
this
on
was
your
what
own?
it was based on.
Yeah.
I just finished high school, and I knew that I hated school and I hated sitting in a classroom just reading. And
Yeah.
there was this new sport that I loved doing, and I don't want to say it was amazing, but like I kind of had a knack for it and had a love for it, which, you know, helps to get good. And I was like, you know, I kind of knew that BC is where it's all happening, the big mountains, etc. The industry's obviously all out here.
For Canada, for sure.
Canada.
Yeah. And really, actually, for the world, like there is
One
a
of
lot
the main hubs is right here,
totally.
Vancouver Whistler.
When people want to go catboarding, heliboarding, whatever, coming to, or even just resort riding. Whistler was winning resort of the year every year. It was just every single year it was number one.
I'm not gonna remember which videos, but it was, I think Blackcomb had the Windlip,
Yeah.
which was like a notorious, like
Yeah.
a famous jump that was, you know, and people were Damian Sanders, who are doing like massive laid out backflips or double backflips, and you know, and I was like, this is where it's happening.
Yeah.
Look at
Gotta
this.
get there.
Yeah, and you know, in Ontario, I'm like, we don't have anything like this. It's not even close.
No.
So I need to go out west.
Yeah.
And me and a friend of mine, Derek Hale from Perth, small town guy.
Sick.
We both moved out here at the same time, drove out together, and crashed with some other friends here for quite a while, and just kind of learning the lay of the land with riding Seymour and the local hills and doing Whistler. And
So you wound up in Vancouver proper.
yeah, straight to Vancouver.
And right away you go to Seymour? Like that's the mountain that you wind up at?
Yeah, it seemed, I'm not sure why exactly we ended up at Seymour for the most part, but that Seymour seemed to have the most focus on snowboarding, and the most snowboarders were focused on Seymour.
100%.
Because I don't think that at the time, Grouse and Cypress, like management-wise, was paying attention to snowboarders and catering to like, we want you guys here.
Right.
What can we do to, and which eventually, obviously, Grouse developed their snowboard park at the time.
Oh, yeah,
a terrain
totally.
park, but at the time it was a snowboard park, right?
That's right.
Because like skiing wasn't riding rails back then. That was non-existent.
No, it wasn't. They weren't a part of the park at all.
No.
Yeah, I forget about that whole era where it was like skiers weren't welcome in the park, first of all, but then they didn't even want to go in.
Be
They
there.
didn't
It wasn't a
have
freestyle sport in that
No.
sense at all.
I remember early on in freestyle skiing, like when they started grabbing their skis and stuff, it was like, I don't know.
But okay, in their defense, and I welcome all sports. Anybody that wants to be an athlete and do anything, like
Sure.
get outside, get exercise, that's cool.
Totally.
I have no animosity towards any other sports.
Yeah, me neither, really.
but-
maybe rollerblading for some reason, or scootering. I don't know. I still harbor a little.
Yeah,
maybe a little.
You could laugh at some people and that's fine, but
Sure,
anybody
sure.
that wants to take their exercise and fitness, that's great.
Right.
Skateboarders were kind of looking at snowboarding. And this is because I was skateboarding and snowboarding, and as most people were at the time.
Yeah.
I think that they would look at snowboarding and be like, well, why are you grabbing? You don't need to grab, it's strapped to your feet.
I remember.
So
people saying
so
that.
we
Yeah.
could look at skiers now and be like, well, why are you grabbing?
Right.
And,
Right.
it is what it is.
No, it was an emulation
if it looks
thing.
cool,
Yeah, it was an
that's-
emulation thing. Because
Absolutely.
at the beginning, like you said, you would go to a resort and they would say you're not welcome here. And you might even get a few skiers walking by going, yeah, get the fuck out of here. And then you kind of like that lights
I
a little bit
remember
of
those-
a fire and you're like, we're gonna be here.
Yeah.
And we're gonna fucking show you
Yeah,
guys. So then
yeah.
once those guys, are grabbing their skis, you're like, you get the fuck out.
I
of here.
remember a scene in my mind. We were at there's a hill near Ottawa in Quebec, Edelweiss,
Yeah,
and
heard
small, but they they were focused on attracting the snowboard crowd, and so they were working on trying to put a pipe together with no proper machinery to do it, so probably just by shovels and whatever.
Damn.
But I remember I was at the top of that pipe, and I use the word half pipe loosely because it was like boom, boom, and rugged, unrideable.
Yeah.
Like
Totally.
you're not doing much on this thing. But snowboarders are hiking it, and we're trying to be Craig Kelly or Terje Hawkinson or whatever.
Yeah.
And so a skier came through. Man, everybody turned on. Hey, fucking snowball! I got the, it was like a real like boom, like immediate tension. Like we did not like. I was maybe a bit young and didn't care.
Right.
But I saw it and I was like, whoa, like this guy, this skier had to get out of there.
Totally.
Because like people were gonna confront him and be like, "Yo, fuck you," like it was like. But you remember the '90s? Like the '90s was it was a weird decade in certain ways. There was a lot of attitude and like a lot of tension amongst people are trying to be kind of like gangster. Hip hop was like a big thing.
Yeah, true.
And it was, I've thought about this many times. Looking back at like there was a lot of competitiveness and rivalry amongst. Even with snowboarders,
Totally.
and the other groups from skiers to you name it. You hated rollerbladers for whatever. You didn't even know
for
why.
no reason.
You just
right.
fucking
Or longboarders when skateboarding went to longboarding.
Right.
It's like, oh,
they weren't
that
welcome.
guy's got too big of wheels, or vert skaters hate street skaters, or whatever. There was a lot of hate.
Yeah, and it was almost like it was cool to be like,
I've actually
fuck you guys.
I've actually asked PD.
Can we curse on here?
Yeah, totally. Because
I'm good at it.
Yeah. PD from Skull Skates. I asked him, like, what was that hate? Why was there so much hate in the sport?
I think I get it, because I'm gonna take a shot at like why it made.
Please.
Yeah. It was, like skateboarders were shunned to some extent from society. Like police were like, you can't skate here, get out of here. And like, businesses like, don't get off our stairs and our handrails and don't skate, you're ruining the ledges. And people are like, oh, get away from us, those things are dangerous. And there was that like outcasts of society. And then, snowboarders came in. The ski hills don't like them. You guys are problem makers. Skiers like, you guys are dangerous. You're sitting in the middle of the runs. And, there was a rebellious kind of youthful way that was like, oh yeah? Okay. And in order to, I think you were mentioning it a minute ago, that, to kind of get the recognition and earn the respect, you're like, we're going to fight for this and we're not going away. And now you got a battle on your hands. And so it was like, the whole like community or industry had to kind of like fight their way through to become like cool, accepted, and recognized, amongst probably many other facets and things that were happening in society of, like maybe the rap music influence.
Sure.
Like to be the badass, to like, that's how you got respect,
punk and
you're
rap.
trying to be punk, you're trying to be hard, you're trying to be, and so that just was, I'd say outside of snowboarding and skateboarding, that was probably in a lot of areas of, people are trying to, be rebellious and be, push the limits. Like my clothes are baggier than yours, and like, I'm tougher than you, and like whatever's happening at the time.
It was crazy how little of that I felt when I first moved out west. So I moved out in 1993, and you've got to be a couple of years before that.
I moved out around 93, 94,
same
right
time.
In there. Yeah, same time.
And like coming from Ontario to here.
You're from Ontario?
Yeah.
Oh,
Sudbury.
Right,
So I was
Sudbury.
I was
Got
like
it.
Northern Ontario too.
Yep.
So the harsh winters and the whole thing, and that kind of hate for skaters and snowboarders by hockey players, and that kind of thing. And then I get out here and there's no hockey players really. It's kind of like the jock guys are like skaters and shit. I remember being like, wait a minute, what?
But that was like also part of the culture, is that like jock mentality. And then, the skateboarder or boarder crowd was the very alternative crowd, wearing alternative. And the jocks are like, what the fuck is this? I remember skateboarding little town Perth, Ontario, and, people drive by and like, fuck you, skater, fucking skater die, you fucking loser. And, they just always had something to say.
Totally.
And so, it was like, we were in a kind of underlying battle, societal battle there of, like,
totally.
Oh yeah, well, we're fucking cool.
Yeah. And when you move out, when you're 17, are your parents like, great, go be a snowboarder? Like, what an awesome idea.
I'm sure most parents struggled with that one.
Yeah.
My parents were very lenient in just about every area, and like, if this is what you want to do, like,
cool,
go for it and we'll support it. And
what did your dad do? Like, or your mom?
So, well, my mom was a realtor.
Oh, sick.
And my dad was an architect, and
oh, wow.
And started 30 some years ago, started a microbrewery that is still going strong today.
Holy shit.
And, way ahead of his
Those
time
are two
with that.
Polar opposites, the architecture kind of professional thing, and then the like, that's way ahead.
And I mean, that was maybe around 1992 or 3 that he started that business. Maybe 94. Anyways,
sick.
But, you know, and then obviously craft beer and the craft beer industry today, it's insane.
It's insane.
But, you know, they started with wine, then they were doing wine and beer, and then, you know, just kind of focused on the beer because that industry was just through the roof. And then LCBOs in Ontario and beer stores and everything else are like, cool, well, we're going to start putting craft beer on our shelves, and
sick.
You know, the rest is history.
Yeah, totally. So was he also doing architecture stuff throughout that time?
Still
that's epic. Yeah. That's really dope. Yeah. So you move out west, your parents like,
but we were by no means like well off. This was all like small town, just kind of like getting going, and
totally,
you know, like we had to struggle for everything, and you know, all the ratty old gear that we would learn to snowboard. I'm sure you're the same.
Oh yeah,
boat. Like you
getting stuff out of the newspaper.
You duct tape
or whatever.
Those Sorel boots up, and you get another year out of them. Like,
yeah.
So.
Pulling ski boot liners out of ski boots.
Yeah. That was the thing. But, you know, it's also back then, it being so new, there wasn't all this extremely expensive gear to spend your money on yet.
And you could also like buy something expensive and it could suck really bad. So you had to be very careful. You had to like really research what you were getting because... That might not work. You might be like, oh, great, you know, the new Kemper boots, and then you put them on your feet, and you're like, oh, no.
Or next year, the style changes completely.
Yeah.
And whatever you were riding is no longer, like the 90s, we went through some transitions. Like, remember the no backs on the bindings?
No backs.
Rip the backs right off the bindings. Like, oh, it's more versatile. But we weren't doing no triple bases. Cork 1640s, you know?
Baseless bindings come out, and it's like, we got to get those. Your pants are going super fat.
Yeah.
You got baseless bindings with no backs. And you're standing
cutting
on the board,
cutting the nose and tail off your board to like make it lighter and
totally. Take those old boards and make them like
the
what we wanted.
To it.
Just like my buddy drilled his and like broke it off. It was all like, you know, and then you sand it. It's all
and then
crazy.
Parents, I'm sure, you know, were like, we just bought you this snowboard and it cost quite a bit of money to like, you know, this was and you took the hacksaw to it and a metal saw and chopped it up and like
Dale Rayburn talked about that with his Joyride boards.
Right.
Joyride sends him boards and he takes a dinner plate and traces like the shape he wants on it, cuts through the thing.
Love it.
And his sponsors are like, are you joking right now? Like, those are brand new boards. What are you guys doing?
Right. You're making us look bad.
You're making us look terrible. But in the end, they were right. And it was,
Well, the industry had to listen to the riders because the riders are the ones that are going to determine the styles and trends.
So remember those boards? There were boards that came like kind of pre-cut down. Like a Morrow lunch tray.
Right, the Morrow lunch tray.
And
that
the
was
Avalanche,
a big seller for
there was like a little D series that had like, it had no kick on it whatsoever. It was insane.
Yeah, it was tiny.
And people would buy those and ride like a huge 27-inch stands.
And that was the era of, I think, snowboarders emulating the street skaters, the baggy clothes, the rails, and like that street style riding. And, you know, you didn't even think about powder, especially on the East Coast.
Oh, God, no.
You know, because obviously you can't ride one of those flat boards with no nose.
Yeah, I had a powder sucks shirt. Do you remember that? Powder sucks. It said on it, and it was like, I thought it was non-ironic. Like, I thought it was like, I remember going to Baker the first time and being like, powder actually does suck. Like, you're just stuck in it.
Yeah, you're swimming and you have to unstrap and walk out of these, you know. But,
it's the worst.
And you know, I always associated the park riding with like springtime. You're in a t-shirt or a hoodie and the sun's shining and everybody's happy and you're cracking the beers, and like that was the best part of snowboarding, in my opinion.
Right, because your gear, you can ride a hoodie in the slush.
In April, it's like, man, it's like summertime on the hill. It was the greatest time of year.
Yeah, there wasn't really gear that worked in cold, snowy conditions. We didn't know how to do it.
Okay, because, you know, we're on the same page from like, you know, our age, etc. What was that? There was a snowboard pant coming, Balls. Was it called Balls? And it was just like the cheapest. It was just like a windbreaker type shell of a pant, super baggy.
Balls.
And it was like, people were like, oh, it's Balls. And like, it was catchy. Like if you're 15, you're like, this is hilarious. I ordered a pair of them. They're like burgundy or pink or whatever.
Yeah.
And that was like, it was the cheapest, most garbage. But anyway, that was also
there was
part
Team
of that.
Buttocks. There was Team Buttocks clothes. I remember being like, wow, buttocks.
Right.
Like, what? Really? Balls and buttocks. That's what
But that was the beauty of the industry being like, there wasn't really much industry. It was a bunch of outcasts that weren't wanted on the hill.
That's right.
And, absolutely not mainstream or corporate in any way. And so you could wear shit that says Balls or buttocks. You do whatever you want. And you know what? Well, fuck you, because it doesn't matter. And nobody was getting paid.
Yeah, that's true.
Maybe like 10 people at the top.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, like Craig Kelly and those guys, but barely, right.
But that, transitioned over time into like, every semi-decent snowboarder out there was kind of on a flow program when like money starts to come in, the industry and the sport's just growing out of control. Yeah. And then it was like, well, if we want to make money, we better clean up our act a little bit.
Totally. Yeah. Remember Jamie Sherritt?
Not really.
He's a Deep Cove guy. He's a generation before you. He had a centerfold spread of just like porn on his board, like so, and then ski saver over top. Right. We'd be at Whistler, and people would be like in the lift line.
Families.
Like, yeah, totally. Families.
But that's how you caught attention, and you got some kind of recognition. It was
insanity.
As, we don't give a fuck.
Yeah, I remember being like, he doesn't give a shit, dude. No. That guy cares zero about what people think about him.
And that fueled the attention shifting to snowboarding.
Totally.
Like it had to, it was like marketing before we knew what marketing was. Just anything to get eyeballs and attention. Yeah. You put some naked chick centerfold on your board, and everybody's like, what? Kids in the lineup like, what? We want to do that.
Yeah, we want to snowboard.
But it worked for certain people.
Sure.
These guys got balls. They're doing something that's pushing the envelope, and we got to get on board.
Totally.
And I had this thought a minute ago. At that time, that era, snowboarding was new. We were looking to skateboarding for ideas for what tricks to do, what was cool, and different style and like
graphics, boards, all the things,
like Mick Twists and stuff. Like Mick Twists is a skateboard move,
totally.
Like Mike McGill, blah blah blah. But we were just taking from the skateboarding, obviously the more developed skateboard industry, and like, okay, what are they doing? Let's do it on snow.
Yeah,
and then of course snowboard you can kind of go bigger, obviously.
Until Danny Way.
I remember that.
I remember being embarrassed for snowboarding. Right. Like, wow, this guy's doing this on a skateboard. We got to step up our game.
Wow, Danny Way is a special
my God. Yeah, totally. So you wind up at Seymour, which is dope because their park program under Andy Boniface at that time, they were building a bunch of stuff, but they were building a community too. That was the big thing.
Yeah. That seemed to be where all the snowboarders were hanging out.
Yeah.
And, there was a good community of people there, met some great people.
Yeah.
And that's where, I don't know what was happening on Grouse or Cypress at that time. Whistler obviously had its community of people and, obviously it's on a bigger scale.
Some of them were strongholds from like kind of the very first generation. You've got like Alex Warburton, Dano, Nix, the Kennock crew,
right?
Dawn Schwartz. I don't know if Schwarty was up at Whistler for a long time, but then you've got the Seans, right? Kearns, and Johnson are holding it down.
I still have to watch that whiskey documentary.
Oh yeah, you got to check it out.
I watched the trailer and I was like, man,
it's insane.
Took me back.
And so they're kind of holding down Whistler, and there's something about Whistler being so big and people riding so fast that when you get a guy like Devin coming from like the Seymour group and riding in Whistler, Whistler's just a whole entirely different animal, right?
But I remember like one of my, early first days kind of thing up on Seymour, seeing Devin Walsh riding there. And, I was new to Vancouver and new to Seymour, and, coming from Ontario where, there's a little bit of talent there. And, but then I saw what these guys were doing, what Dev's doing, and San Sloan, and and I was like, "Fuck, they're way better here." Way better. Like it was like, whoa,
yeah,
these guys are so far ahead. Better step it up.
Yeah. So what board do you move out here riding? Like, what do you remember? What board you were riding?
Ride board.
Perfect.
It was I don't know what one, but it was like it was cool. It was like this all white top sheet, and then there was like some colorful graphic on the bottom. I just liked the look of it. And
yeah, sick.
Didn't really know. I mean, Ride seemed to be doing everything pretty well at that point.
Hell yeah.
Based on what I saw in magazines.
Yeah, they were kind of the first new school,
more rider owned, snowboarder owned.
Yeah.
And I don't even know if it was. I just assumed
it wasn't.
It was.
It kind of was. It sort of was.
Probably had corporate funding behind it.
Tim Pogue and Jason Ford partnered with a guy, Jamie Salter, who had done Kemper snowboards. But Jamie's business plan for it was to take it public. It was the very first company to go public. So yeah, it was rider owned for sure, and rider driven, and a lot of
and I'm sure some of those riders had shares, or there was, some level of ownership.
Yeah, the Jason Ford shares story is insane.
Oh, really?
He didn't even know what he had, but he saw the ticker
about business,
and he sees that Ride is at $45 a share or something, and he calls just a stockbroker. He goes, "Look, I think I have 10,000.
It was public, huh?
Yeah.
Wow.
It was public. Yeah, okay. It was the first one.
Wow.
And the stockbroker goes, "Dude, you're a millionaire."
No way.
Yeah. He's like, "What?
How,
man?" Because he'd scraped together 10 grand.
Okay.
I think he told me that the check bounced, and so he was almost not a partner. And then he was like, "Oh God," or he said, "Please don't cash the check until Wednesday or whatever." And he was begging everyone he could for a couple $100 here, a couple $100 there. Put it in his account. He's like, "Good."
Crazy.
Yeah. And he bought in.
But remember back the trajectory of the snowboard industry, it was blowing up at a pace that I don't even think these companies could keep up with. And there was 30, 40 new companies a year that were just
always,
popping
right.
up. Everybody's starting a board company, or outerwear company, whatever.
Totally.
Holy.
Yeah, I witnessed it, but being inside it, I wasn't really paying that close of attention. I loved it. I was like, wow, so many brands.
Yeah.
And
I didn't know what it meant, and I didn't know on the business aspect of it at all.
Yeah,
I thought for the longest time, I looked at all the brands out there in any industry, and I just said, everybody just makes money. That's what happens. You start a company, you make money.
Right.
I didn't know you start a company, you go into debt,
Yeah.
you have expenses out the ass, and your struggle to be profitable. I didn't know what that was.
Right.
And obviously, I'm going to touch on our education system doesn't prep you for this at all.
Right.
I came out of high school, I'm like, well, I know how to keyboard.
Yeah.
I didn't know anything else.
That's because the education system wants to make workers, not bosses.
Right.
I think
that's a separate topic, and I'm a conspiracy guy from way back.
I love it.
And we could talk about all that stuff for hours, but yeah, I really knew nothing about business, money, finance, the industry. I just thought everybody was rich and endless money.
Yeah, it felt like that, didn't it? You've got a small
and companies were throwing money around, right?
Yeah.
Everybody was kind of you getting free product here and there.
We'll give you $1,000 a month to ride for us.
We're paying to go to this resort and travel budget and this and that and photo incentives and and you just kind of thought, everybody's got money.
Yeah,
but no.
Yeah, businesses are going out of business,
and then that crested over that wave, and I was like, "Oh, they're out of business now," and they're out of business. You're like, "Ooh, And then
So what's your first sponsor? Who sponsors you first? Like, were you sponsored back in Ottawa by, like Tommy LaFave?
But I did win some video contests. So a shop in Ottawa and Quebec, it was EQ.
Yeah, on Equilibre.
Yeah, and they had a handful of locations. So they did. This was my only like experience with this in Ontario. You submit like a video of yourself, and I filmed a bunch of stuff and put it. I don't even know how we edited it back then. I don't remember. VHS tape though, right?
Yeah.
And I sent it into them, and then they reached out. I don't know how long later. They're like, "Yeah, you won. I won a board."
Oh wow, what'd you win? That ride board?
No. What did I win? I forget, and I don't know if I even picked it up.
Like you won
I
the
feel
contest.
like, yeah, and I was living in Perth.
Yeah.
And then they notified me, and I was like, well, I need to get to like Quebec or to Ottawa or somewhere to pick it up.
That's amazing.
Then I think maybe at that point I was like, well, I'm heading out west, and and I honestly, I don't even know. Maybe I picked it up and then sold it right. I was partying in high school. Okay,
right.
What exactly happened? Lots of bits and pieces there, but
so that's the first recognition of your talent.
Before that, which was very strange. I just remembered this. I went into a skate contest in it was Ottawa, must have been, or Kingston, Ontario.
Yeah.
And it was a street contest. Where the hell was it? It was in maybe like the McNabb Community Center in Ottawa. It was indoors with like a hockey rink, and then in the summers or whatever, it was a skate park.
Rad.
And there was a shop in Ottawa called Boardwalk that put it on. And they were the Ottawa like skate shop, late 80s, and it was all the California brands when it was Airwalk shoes and whatever else. And it was the coolest thing as a kid. You're like, oh my God, it's the fucking best shit I've ever seen. I
so still excited. Know the Boardwalk logo, like it's burned into my mind.
I remember the location on Somerset Street. Anyways, so they had a contest, and I didn't know what the fuck I was doing other than I love skateboarding, and I had more like ollie pop than most, and I could,
dope.
So I got third in this contest, which was kind of like cool because I was like, oh shit, I did okay. There's a lot of people there.
Yeah.
And anyways, it was just flying by the seat of my pants, and snowboarding also was like much newer at that point, and so I just kind of, I don't know why, I just gravitated to snowboarding.
Yeah.
But those were the two things I remember, and then I was like, I love doing this. I'm going west. Let's just see. I'm not going to sit in a classroom any longer. And that was all that was going through my mind.
Yeah.
Like I don't like school, and let's go snowboarding.
So
I'll figure it out.
Did you start doing contests out here?
Yeah, I did a few.
Because there were some small contest series around that time. There's one I remember at Manning that they built a little park, and I never won like any major event or contest out here because I wasn't like a real pipe rider. Right.
And then slope style. There was one that was a Seymour slope style, and of course I show up and I'm hungover like an idiot. And, it was like all the whistles. I don't remember all the formats for the prizes and with these slope style contests, but this one happened to be first prize is 10 grand.
Yeah. And
there's no second or third. It was winner take all.
Yeah, totally.
Somebody won it and I got second.
Oh, no way.
And I was like, for fuck's sakes. And to, at that age, like, whatever, like 21 years old or something, 10 grand,
and this is
that's
back
like
$1 million.
Yeah. I was like, you're set for life. It's 10 grand.
Yeah. Totally.
And I was like, as if, and then of course in my head, I was like, why didn't I fucking land this better and do and I was
Sure.
just like, fuck.
Yeah.
I wanted that fucking money.
I want that 10 G's.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was
Anyway.
a boardroom contest, and the $10,000 was it was to attract the Whistler guys to come down. I remember Perry.
Well,
talked
that
to
makes
Peter
headlines,
Line.
right? Like there's 10 grand on the line.
Yeah. And then, but what we didn't know was that putting up 10 grand isn't going to attract Peter Line, because Peter's like, I'm not going to win. My chances of winning against even local guys,
because you never
is
know.
a roll of the dice, bro.
Yeah.
So like, I'll come up
Right,
if you
right.
if you pay me 10 grand, but I'm not coming up to compete with your local guys.
Right. Just in case, because if he doesn't win,
he'd
they'd
been
be
to
like,
Seymour. He knows what's going on at Seymour. Like Devin Walsh is at Seymour.
I feel
you
like
know?
Devin was a judge at that one, or one of
Yeah,
the...
probably. Actually, yeah, definitely. Devin would have been a
yeah.
judge eventually at those.
Anyways,
For
it was
sure.
an
Oh,
amazing
he was hurt.
event.
Yeah, he was hurt.
I feel like this was also that contest, if, anybody watching remembers, but Cale Stevens takes the GT Snow Racer from like way up there and pins it at the table.
The whole way.
Oh, way past that landing.
Yeah.
You can kind of just see him like, oh shit, throws that thing and then just hits and bounces, gets up,
rad.
and everybody loses their mind. That was the
Totally.
coolest thing they've ever seen. Anyways, I feel like that was that day.
So at that point, are you a sponsored rider, or are you still just
Like
buying
I was,
boards
there
and
was
stuff?
like United Outerwear, and then Dawn did Legend boards, which I was on Legend for a while.
Yep.
And I feel like that was
Sean Fulton would have been your team manager.
Sean Fulton.
Yeah.
I know that name, and I remember Sean from somewhere.
Well,
Anyways.
he worked at Boardroom, and then he went to United, and he might have even launched Legend with Dawn.
Maybe.
Yeah. I
But
remember
anyway, so United seemed to be going very well.
it was going off. Yeah.
and I feel like that brand was pretty successful. So I guess
Oh,
they
it
were
was.
like, okay,
Yeah.
let's do a board company. And who was I with? Dave Boyce.
Of course.
And there was probably a few names that escape me now.
Sure.
But yeah, that was and they were they were doing good things, and we're like, oh cool, this was exciting.
They were taking out real ads in
putting
real
ads in
magazines.
like, hey, you
and-
guys gotta go shoot a catalog, and we need
Totally.
to add photos and whatever. And I knew Shane and Corey Mitchell from the Invasion board. They had their factory here in North Van, and I don't really know at what point I transitioned over to the Invasion team, and but it was a good fit, and I don't remember what happened with Legend or United. I don't fucking but you know what, actually the first before that there was an outerwear company out of the US, I think California, maybe, called Twist.
Oof, that's like the number one for a couple of years. That
And
was
I
like
sent
the
them a
best.
video.
Sick.
And they're like, I get a call, and he's like, I don't know who this guy is. Dude, you ride like a monster.
Sick,
and I was
sick.
like, cool, who is this? And then they're like, we're sending you stuff. We want you on Twist. And I was like, okay.
Dude, that's epic.
And they
Yeah.
made cool shit. Like,
So
it was, their graphics, everything. I was like, fuck, these guys are amazing.
Yeah.
Anyways, that just popped
Oh,
in my
that's
head.
amazing that you're
I
on
haven't
Twist.
thought about
Right,
any
right,
of this
right.
until like right now, by
That's
the way.
great.
It's all
That's
like,
pretty
holy
sick.
shit.
Yeah, Twist didn't work in Canada because getting it up here was really difficult. And so they're trying to supply their US guys, and then Canada is kind of an afterthought. That's how I remember it. Was
yeah, for
like
Americans,
they didn't send us like the full stuff to sell at the store.
They didn't have the distribution across Canada that they needed.
It's really difficult to do, right? Like, because even back then there's tariffs and harmonized codes that you have to know to get the stuff up here. And when you don't know those and you miss the season by even you miss it by a couple of weeks, if your clothing didn't show up until everything's on sale, then you you're not getting a good review, and the buyers aren't going to buy you the next year.
Right.
But you're so lucky to have been on Twist, because
that was super cool.
That stuff was epic. So they send you just a big box.
Yeah,
of,
they sent me a few boxes, and they're like, "Okay, let's keep on it." And of course, these companies were always good at, we'll give you a bunch of stuff, and then let's see how you do, and if you can get some footage and coverage and magazines, whatever, then we'll reevaluate, and blah blah blah. And so I was on their team getting this flow. They didn't send me any checks. There was no money. Right. I was just happy, I got all this gear. Cool.
Yeah, you don't even need checks at that time.
No, and you can sell a jacket or pants or whatever, goggles to some friend, and you're like, cool, I got $400.
Yeah, exactly.
We're partying.
We're going on a trip, and it's on me. Totally.
But back then, $400 or $500 meant something.
A lot.
It doesn't mean anything now.
Someone gave me $400 right now.
It doesn't change your life at all.
Zero.
Right.
I could take my family out for a nice dinner.
One day. Yeah, that's it. But to touch on Seymour again.
Yeah, please.
Backtracking.
Right.
Even from Ontario, and obviously while I was out here, I knew Seymour because of the backcountry there, and because of guys like Devin Walsh and whatever the names are that were getting coverage from, and you see a full page shot or a cover shot on a magazine or whatever, Mount Seymour, and it was like, wow, Seymour.
Yeah.
And Seymour was on the map, in my opinion, from City Hit and these famous jumps in their backcountry that was getting a lot of coverage.
So much coverage.
And I think that was every snowboarder out there was like, Mount Seymour.
Totally.
Worldwide, Transworld, you got sick Transworld shots from Seymour, the local
cover
hill
shots.
here.
I love that. I love
saw
that.
him from Grouse.
No. So you're the only guy ever in my memory to get a cover shot at Cypress.
Oh, yeah.
So tell me about this hit at Cypress, because it's, I know where it is, and we never build it. They cut the run differently now. It's kind of right in the middle of a run.
Right. It's where two runs got met, and there was a bank there, and it was like a hip almost.
Yeah.
It's
beautiful
and
spot.
I don't know how I got into this. So
who shot it?
Scott Surface.
Yeah, it's a surface shot.
Yeah.
So you guys used to go to Seymour and Grouse and Cypress looking for spots.
I was riding a lot back then.
Yeah.
And I was not in the, kind of inner circles of the local professionals around here. So I could not call up Scott Surface and be like, hey, bro, I got this jump or this spot I want to shoot.
Right.
I got this idea.
Right.
Because he didn't know who I was and, probably didn't care. And understandandly.
Yeah, he's shooting with the best.
He's shooting
in the world.
with the pros that they get paid and blah blah blah.
Yeah.
So, and same with Derek Catella. Same thing. I have a similar story with Catella as well. But I happened to, or somebody around me happened to hear this was springtime, and I think the hill was closed at this point. I'm pretty sure we just hiked up. And, obviously there's plenty of snow at that point. So it was soft spring conditions. And, we dug out this, a run in and a hit. And I happened to be rocking an Invasion board with a red base. And I had a red hoodie on.
Perfect.
And I was like, I must have had the wherewithal to know that will work. Because, we were always kind of aware of what would look good in a photo, and remember the bright colors,
all black. You're not
or all beige or something. That photo won't look like much. So I had this red hoodie, which obviously kind of set, and no toque on.
Perfect.
And this is a spring shot, and I was doing these air to fakies on this thing and just kind of going as big as I could. And Surface was there because there was some other better riders there, or good riders. Let's say.
Yeah, of course.
Or buddies of his. Maybe it was might have been Max Jenke, or it could have been I forget who it was. But anyways, for whatever reason, a shot that he took turned out great. Cover of Strength magazine.
Strength,
and and it looked sick, and I was like, and this actually, and so I have another similar story which I can touch on, but yeah, I don't know if he even told me, but
Right.
like it just, I heard at some point like, you're on the cover.
Wow.
So at that point I was like, man, I'm going to like the 7-Eleven or wherever, and I'm buying a bunch of copies of this.
Totally,
I was like,
totally.
I didn't even know. Anyways, I went and picked up some copies. Like, holy shit.
Was there photo incentives in your
From
in your
Invasion,
contract with
yeah.
Invasion?
And then, if it was like, I was like fucking flow bindings or maybe some Dragon eyewear or fucking
Sick.
whatever it was, like, it was always, everybody's always happy to see that you got some coverage. But nobody cutting a check other than Invasion at that point.
Right.
And whichever outerwear, I forget what outer it was. United. Did they ever pay me for a photo? They might have actually. United might have cut me some checks.
Yeah, that makes sense that they would have.
Yeah,
because
because
they were operating like that.
Yeah, but it was never a lot of money.
No.
But it was enough that you were like, yes, I'm gonna.
But
keep
it feels
going.
like a lot of money at the time too, right?
And just the reward of the
Yeah.
recognition, the hard work, and you're like, finally, like, boom, you land something cool. But before that, I was up at Cypress. Is that what you were talking about? Fuck. Sorry, let's back up, because that Transworld cover was Cypress, and that's probably what you're talking about.
That's the one.
I don't know why I thought of both of them. Okay, so
what's the Strength cover?
Strength was like
what
2 years after the Transworld.
And
cover.
where was it shot? Was it shot at Seymour or was it shot
Cypress?
You got 2 covers at Cypress.
Like, Cypress Bowl. It was on the southern face.
Yep.
And it was where one run connected to another run, and there happened to be a big bank there, and it was a quarter pipe style.
And there's the backdrop is those mountains and the ocean. Yeah, that's a good
No,
spot.
it wasn't ocean backdrop. It was just other like similar mountains in the background. It ended up looking cool. I probably even have a photo of it on my phone.
Yeah, send it to me and I'll put it in the show.
Yeah,
so
I will.
people can look. Yeah, that's dope.
But sorry to back up before this. Man, I'm surprised that escaped me. So the Transworld cover, this was out of the blue, just freak luck. I happened to be in the right place, right time.
Sick.
And we're up on the peak of Cypress, whatever that top chair is.
Sky chair. Yeah.
And facing on the face that looks out over the island, Vancouver Island, the ocean.
Yeah.
And I think the park, they had the park jumps up on that.
They
run.
did actually.
Yeah.
Only 1 year. That's right. They did 1 year.
And I was riding Cypress quite a bit at that point. And Derek Catella came up with maybe Rob Dow, maybe Max Jenke, whoever, like somebody.
That crew.
Yeah, that crew. And I forget exactly who, but I don't know. Like, I think they were like, cool, we're going to kind of get some sunset shots and whatever.
Yeah.
And I happened to be there riding with whoever else I was with.
Probably Lewis and
maybe Lewis and
I remember seeing you guys up at Cypress because
me and Lewis Adams rode together quite a bit.
Yeah.
And and there was a few other guys, but whoever I was with, there was one of these tables, and this is back when these park jumps were not well built or designed. They were very basic.
Yeah.
But I was going off the side of one of these tables and just kind of like launching over it sideways, and the sun's setting on the island there, and backside rodeos.
That's what it was, right? I remember the rodeo, backside rodeo.
And I think it was a combination. I had a bright yellow United jacket on.
Sick.
It was like a blue and white Invasion board. It kind of had a bit of pop to it with the lighting. And
totally.
And it was not a big jump.
It wasn't one of the biggest things that you'd ever done.
No.
That's the thing about Cypress. The backdrop is gorgeous.
Absolutely.
And the thing about Seymour is they've got the gorgeous backdrop, but the jumps are humongous. Just absolutely huge.
Yeah. Anyways, I from the guys that were there, I kind of, the sun's going down, and Derek Catella shows up, and he's got a kind of limited time to like get a good shot. And I happen to already be there, just riding, warmed up, right into the like backside roadies. And I don't think anybody else was really doing like inverted tricks that way at the time. Like it was kind of just,
you
a
were
backside
ahead of the
was
curve.
kind of newer. Like Peter Line had, maybe he was the first guy to do it. I don't know.
Sure. Yeah.
But yeah, so I feel, and he just was like, yo, I want to shoot this. I was like, cool, I'll do as many as you want. Yeah. You just, let's go until you say stop.
Yeah, that's amazing.
And then fast forward like a few months, and Catella's like, dude, get ready to love me. I was like, why? What? He's like, this is going to be good. Cover of Transworld. First ever real photo published. Like, I don't want to say real. Concrete Powder had done stuff.
Sure.
And I love them. They're great. But for an international magazine.
Totally.
Like, that was my
and
first.
And it's the cover.
Yeah. And,
dude.
And I even had friends in Ontario that were like, hey.
Yeah.
I saw you. You're on the cover.
The cover, dude. It really bumped you into an echelon locally here, where it was like, fucking Steeves got the cover. You know what I mean? Like,
it was a big deal in ways.
Huge deal.
But at the same time, in certain ways, it wasn't. Like it wasn't. That is not enough at the time to just propel a career into like, whoa, like forum, like, hey, we want, it wasn't doing that. It was just more like, cool, you got a great photo, and obviously that's a win, and recognition, whatever. But like this was a time, whatever year that was, like I think 99.
Yeah.
You had to like really big video parts, win the contest.
Yes.
Like I don't know when Shaun White came out, but at that point, it was just pre Shaun White years. But you had to be like the next like phenom kid, in order for the whole industry to be like, this is the guy.
Well, it's a theme throughout the show. I've interviewed a lot of people, and when opportunities happen, right? Like when Devin is now filming for MacDog. And Mouse is calling him going, all right, where are we filming this year? And Devin has to say, you know what, I'm going to do this MacDog thing. Like, so like I could imagine, you're like calling Don at United and Shane and Corey at Invasion and saying, well, I got the cover. So, Burton is knocking on my door, or like
I could have tried to bluff.
Right? Yeah, you should have bluffed.
Burton wants
me. It didn't happen. It wasn't like you get the cover and then all of a sudden team managers are calling.
United, Don and United and Shane and these like the team owners, and they're obviously stoked. They're very excited. They're like, that's amazing and whatever. And it solidifies your spot there. Yeah. And I'm sure I got some photo incentive checks, but nothing life changing.
Right.
But like that was it. That was like
you didn't get,
and then some high fives from your boys. You're like, woo, cool.
Totally.
But what's interesting, reflecting on that time is, my friends that were not snowboarders, and just old friends and guys that I would go partying with in downtown and whatever, they were like, holy shit, you got the cover of Transworld, or like friends back in Ontario, like, because they didn't know the ins and outs of the industry. They just, all they saw was like, well, you're on the cover of the world's biggest snowboard magazine, so you must be a rock star. Yeah. That's how they equate that.
I still feel that. Like when I was,
and so like a lot of people were like, fuck it. And for years, I'd be like out partying, and like friends would be like walking up to girls like, yo, this guy was on the cover of Transworld. Like, the amount of times I heard people say that line, and like it was like for a lot of people it was like exciting and a big deal, but within the industry it was just kind of like, yeah, you got another photo.
And it's just a coincidence that they're both at Cypress, or was that, what? Let's talk about it, because Cypress was putting effort into their parks at that time.
Right.
And they were really
trying
stepping
to
it up.
Compete for that business.
They were moving the parks around on the mountain, and
Yeah.
just by coincidence, there was places where you could take pictures that had that wonderful backdrop. And because of that,
I think for these local hills, the Seymour backcountry was obviously the best terrain and had the best backdrops for photo. The city
most
in the
reliable,
back,
yeah.
with the ocean, with the islands, and depending on the angle, it could have been like an absolutely like so sick the photos.
Totally.
We all know the Seymour jumps and spots that everybody frequented.
Yeah, man.
But yeah, not that Cypress didn't have some spots, but it was not the same. Like to get, cover type material or get really high end photos on Cypress, like there was no backcountry. Well, no, it was difficult.
Side country, right.
Yeah.
Side country, but
Yeah.
not the transition stuff that Seymour has, which is kind of like a little mini Baker.
The strength of the Seymour backcountry is you're out of bounds, way up on these peaks, and it's not tracked out. There's nobody else there at the time.
Yeah.
And then obviously the popularity of that backcountry got so big that it got tracked out, and you had to get up at 7 a.m. and be the first one up.
Yeah.
Or else somebody else was going to claim City hit, and then, whatever other jumps that McGuire hit, and they're going to be like, they got there first, that's theirs.
Right.
And
they're shooting on it.
This is we started building it, this one's ours, and you had to go and find another spot to shoot.
Totally.
But yeah, anyways, it's strange, that I ended up with 2 covers from Cypress.
That's dope. Yeah, I've always remembered that and been like, because I was trying to convince people at Seymour the whole time. I've been trying to convince people at Seymour. Grouse has great stuff. Cypress has great stuff. Like all 3 mountains have their own vibe and strength.
For a while there, Grouse was putting in a ton of work to have the best park, and I would say they succeeded for a few years.
Definitely.
I have no idea what they've done in the last 15 years.
Well, they have a handle toe now, which is like the only thing on the North Shore.
The terrain park.
It's just a terrain park. It's almost all rail stuff, so I'm a little bit bummed that it doesn't have jumps, but you don't need to make stuff for a 50-year-old man.
That's been a trend for a while. Parks are focused more on the rails, less on the jumps.
I think they're maybe easier to maintain.
Less injuries, less liability.
Injuries? I don't know. I'm not sure. But now, like really excitedly, they've got this new snowmaking thing. Seymour's got it as well.
Okay.
Where they're going to be able to maybe keep the handle toe going 4 seasons all year.
Wow.
Which would be insane.
Is this like they're blowing some like
I'm
artificial?
I'm trying to figure out what it is.
Like I know if you went to like Japan, they've got. I'm pretty sure they're making like artificial snow that you can snowboard on. I saw some video about the training for like proper jumps with the airbag landings.
Yeah.
And I don't know if we have that around here, but I think this was Japan. They're way advanced with it.
Super advanced. Yeah. This is a new snowmaking technology that was developed in Quebec, and that the guy came out, sold one to Grouse, sold one to Seymour, and it can blow snow in like 11 degrees or 12 or 20 or something.
Snow? Like,
so it's
actually like frozen water?
It's little frozen pieces of ice that are a certain shape. I think maybe the shape is what makes it not. Yeah. So it feels like
or do they
corn
add
snow.
some kind of like chemical element
So
that
according to the people I've talked to, they don't add any chemicals at all. It's just water. I was like, that doesn't seem to make sense. I'm trying to get an interview with the people that know the technology so I can share like what the hell it is. Because really it's best for us to know if it doesn't have chemicals in it. We should know that.
Because at first I was like picturing like little chunks of styrofoam, or
Yeah,
like some
antifreeze
composite
or
that's
something.
just,
Like plastics
like,
or
what
something.
am I riding on?
Yeah.
It's like AstroTurf, and
Right. What the hell is this? But it's supposedly just frozen ice cubes.
I mean, you can see. I don't know where I'm out of the industry for so long, but
Right.
I've seen the footage of these kind of slope style type park courses that are all on like an AstroTurf type material.
Yeah.
I don't really know. It's, I guess, a plasticky rubber.
I don't think I've ever ridden it, but
No,
where we
I haven't
are,
ridden it.
there is a little indoor training facility that moves on a
Conveyor belt.
conveyor
Yeah,
belt
yeah,
that you can ride endless plastic.
Right.
Yeah, they teach people.
But they
Just
do a
on
run
Lonsdale
on
here.
there's like the rails and boxes and whatever, and fuck, it's not bad.
Indoors, right.
If I was like 15 years old, I would be all over it.
Right. It's an indoor snowboard park that's just available all the time. They have those in the UK, and I think the indoor thing. I went to my first indoor in China, and it's like going into the freezer of your fridge.
Right.
It feels
temperature controlled,
yeah,
like environment and blah blah blah.
Yeah, but it's just a straight down.
But to do that outdoors in the rain and the summer sun and whatever here would be like, that's kind of mind blowing.
It is mind blowing. I'm excited to see it because it's it's going to change the scene. But like we were saying, there are eras where Cypress was putting a lot of effort into their parks because it paid off with cover shots with you. And then
bring the snowboard community, which was growing in popularity, get them over to our hill. Seymour's obviously crushing it, and everybody's going there. So like, how can we? And
now Grouse has their own scene
Grouse
that
had
they
the
grew.
money.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, Grouse has the terrain too. They've got really nice fall line under the chair.
Yep.
And I mean, it's really the effort, right? Like the effort that people put in. Right now, I would say the effort at Seymour is because of their park staff being so
you need
passionate.
the right staff and management. Yeah. And obviously they got to have the budget, and and it absolutely was healthy for all of these hills and for the community to have the competition between them, because if Grouse steps it up, well, then Seymour better step it up.
Totally.
And if Cypress starts step it up, well, Grouse got to step it up. And, we needed that. That was perfect.
Yeah, I see a lot of passionate people at all three mountains. Like the people that run the parks are all very passionate.
Good.
It's an era of parks waning in importance to the corporate people that own the mountains, because the mountains are packed with
They're
people.
making sales regardless.
Yeah.
And like, why would they have all that extra cost and liability?
Yeah.
But they don't need it.
The problem is that they forget that when the whole mountain gets boring, people stop having that excitement to go there. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't imagine not having that terrain park. Jesus.
Yeah. Yeah, you need it.
Interestingly, I was in Mont Tremblant a week and a half ago, and I saw their groomers building up the jump line in their big park.
Sick.
And they were pushing up some massive jumps, and I was like, nice. Like, because I think over the last many years, and I've gone there most years and ridden in the springtime, and I'll hit the jumps, but they're like small, noticeably, which I'm okay with at this age.
Yeah, me too.
But like, I was kind of in my head thinking, like, what happened to the like 60 footers and 70 footers that were like, only the top guys would dare throw themselves off it.
Totally.
Those days seem to be gone, but I wonder if maybe they're gonna make a comeback, because the parks are focused like 90% on rails now, and boxes, and those jibs they're very well designed, and they're sick, and especially the skiers, a lot of them are built for skiers, I think.
Sure. Yeah.
I don't know. But like, go to Quebec, I don't know. I'm going to take a guess. When I go through those parks, it's like 80% skiers, if not 90%. Like,
damn.
But this is the East Coast, or the East the east of Canada, and it's, I get why skiing has grown in popularity, because it's colder, harder, kind of icier conditions, and it's difficult to snowboard on that stuff.
Yeah, 4 edges are better than 2.
And
that.
poles and like, the
Sure.
stability, basic stability of skiing is just way easier. And I feel like if I started today, and also the ski culture has caught up to snowboarding by, a while back, right?
Sure.
So it's the popularity in both is equally strong, if not stronger in skiing. But when we were young, it was not cool to ski.
Not at all. No,
Like you could,
totally.
you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
Like you
of
couldn't,
course.
you were not allowed to be on skis.
No, I can remember my friend.
Your friends would be like, dude,
Yeah.
you're out of here.
If
Fuck off.
my friends we had one cool skier guy in our group, but it was like, 10 snowboarders, and the one guy who was good enough at skiing to hit all the jumps and things
And
we
you
were
were
hitting.
like, yeah, he's cool.
Yeah, he's fine. He's with us. you know?
Yeah.
But slowly over the 2000s, it became like a skier in your crew was like, you wouldn't even think about it. Of course, they're going to ski with us.
Oh, yeah.
They're doing the exact same thing we're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And skiers have surpassed snowboarders in certain ways.
Some.
The level of it in certain ways.
I mean, I've been watching this like pre-Olympics, like slopestyle and half pipe stuff that's going on. Holy shit, they're good.
Yeah. It's funny. I do watch the I don't know we'll call it the X Games, but
Sure.
maybe it's Olympics. And I look at the ski and the skier half pipe and slope style versus the snowboard half pipe and slope style.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of like, which sport has progressed further? Like and it's so hard to say, because you look at there's some Japanese kids recently, and one Japanese guy in particular that, what did he do, like a 2160 or something in contest, and won it, and it was like a first ever, maybe it was even more than that, but 5.5 spins.
Jesus.
Stomps it perfectly.
Damn.
And the world loses their mind.
Right.
And you're like, God damn, like it was just so next level. And I'm like, do skiers do 5.5 spins? Like who's taking it further? I don't know. I don't know.
Well, they were doing triple flips and triple twists back when I was a little kid. Full on their freestyle.
Oh,
jumps
on that like crazy ski jump.
Those weird ski jumps.
And I don't think, is that,
and back flops,
would that still be an Olympic sport or event?
Here's what's wild. I consume my media on a phone, and the phone's got its own curation algorithm.
Right.
That's to me. So I see zero skiing.
Right.
Like if I see skiing, I scroll past it, and it's just I see skiing that is like from far enough away that the algorithm can't tell. Well, is this snowboarding or skiing? I don't know. And then I look at, and sometimes I can't tell. And then the guy skis up to the camera. He's got the poles and everything. You tricky fuckers. But so I see zero Olympic skiing, zero competitive skiing.
Right.
And I barely see the big spinny stuff too in snowboarding because it's hard to see.
I can't not
sometimes.
watch it. I throw the Red Bull channel on or whatever it is, X Game time, and I'm like, I got to see what these guys are doing.
Yeah, so back in the day, we saw the same videos. We saw the same videos you and I would have seen, Snowboarders in Exile over and over again. And then when Roadkill comes out, it's like, Roadkill. Oh, my God, it's so good.
Buttering everywhere.
Everything with the butters. Right. And again, the road trip theme.
Yeah.
Pile a bunch of guys in a car. So but now it's like my algorithm has cat videos in it or whatever other dumb shit it's got in it. You've got your algorithm with whatever you're seeing, and there's no wrong way to consume.
No, I will
media
consciously search outside of my algorithm though. Like
Good for you.
Like
that seems smart.
I know it's gonna feed me kind of similar content over and over if I don't like go look for something. And then the minute you go look for something new, it starts feeding you some new stuff. And
cool.
So it's you kind of have to go looking for it for sure.
Yeah, I got my report
but I get bored quickly. So
because it's Monday, you get your report, and I've reported on the show about this before. You don't have to fucking say yours, but 7 hours a day last week. 7 hours a day.
Woo!
7. I'm hurt. I'm hurt though, so I'm kind of like lying in bed just watching, but I'm 7 hours, bro. Like, I remember when 1 or 2 hours was like a big deal. Like, you kind of felt a little bad. I felt a bit like, shit, I wasted my week last week just being on my phone.
Right.
I can't, that's a full-time job.
Oh, yeah.
7 hours a day?
But I mean, assuming that 7 hours is in between all the other stuff you're doing, you know, like
I'm not doing anything else, I guess.
Oh, well, then
you're
you're spending a lot of time.
That's way too much. Yeah, that's way too much.
Yeah, it's a lot.
And it feels pretty empty, you know what I mean? Like when you finally get off of the scroll and you're like, oh, you know what am I doing sitting here? What the fuck? I just sat down on a footstool. And then I sat there for an hour. And then you get up and you move, and then you
gotta get out of that. Like,
I gotta get out of it.
Yeah, I mean the way the context you're giving me there, I would break that up.
I need to stop.
Like I mean, I'm very when I'm at home, extremely strict with my time every day, and it's and I've noticed it's almost a problem where I just don't have time for a lot of people and whatever because I'm like, I'm going to wake up at this hour. I'm going to do this morning routine and I'm going to work. And this is what I plan to get done work wise. And I'm going to be in the gym and then I'm going to do this. And like, it's very like go, go, go. And I don't like any time in my days, typically like on a Monday to Friday. Weekends are a bit different, but I don't want any time that was just kind of stagnant time where I wasn't achieving a goal.
Interesting.
And that's very,
that makes sense.
Like, like it's, I'm maybe not on like a Rob Dyrdek level, but like, I like that mindset and that, that schedule of like, know what you're doing and know what you're working towards and figure out how to get there and budget your time accordingly so that like, you're getting so much done on a daily basis. And I mean, I just feel there's a ton of reward in that. Again, we talked about this earlier, but, I've been, been off the alcohol for a year now. But the alcohol consumption for me was I was scaling it back for the last like 10 years kind of thing, off and on, like just kind of, less and less and less. And now I'm kind of at this point of, my productivity level typically is extremely good, for the most part. Obviously I'm human and there's exceptions to, I will waste a day or two here and there, obviously. But,
sure.
But man, I just love like, okay, what now? Let's go. Getting things done. There's so much reward in hitting accomplishments and whatever. And so,
were you like that when you were snowboarding as well? Or
not at all?
Yeah, you were the opposite.
I was so like, I look back at those years like, man, can I get those years back? I'd like a do-over. They could be, I could have been doing so much more. And I'm sure that the professionals on like the high level that, were in the top tier, the Mac Dog riders, etc. They were probably operating that way.
They had to be. Like,
they're up early. They're gonna like boom, boom, boom. They knew exactly what they were getting done and they were putting out content. And, like I was, way more relaxed, flying by the seat of my pants and not, executing with a game plan, like being in the last, call it 20 years of, getting into the business world and realizing that, all these successful people that are, that are doing quite well with, entrepreneurs or whatever, like they're not just kind of lucking out, they didn't just happen to fall into, like, they put together a plan and it was a detailed plan and they executed on that. And that is how they got to where they are.
Totally.
And I'm like, oh, okay. That's how you actually have to work for it.
Yeah.
Not that I wasn't a hard worker, but nothing like, my understanding of it is nothing like what it is today.
Sure. Yeah.
But also like, for any viewers here, like we're going back to those years of the 90s as an example in early 2000s, we did not have the cell phones and social media content that we have today. And I, for one, consume, sure, a lot of social media content, but I try my best to follow the people that are delivering valuable stuff every single day. And, whether it's in the business world or investment world or motivational or professional in any field that has some like real and valuable stuff to share with us. And a lot of them are. It's an amazing time to be alive. Totally. I love social media, and I know why you you average 7 hours a day. Sure. Because I would have done the same thing 30 years ago had I had that opportunity. I'm trying to absorb as much value as I can on a daily basis, and I'm like, fuck, this is phenomenal. Anything you want to learn now, you could YouTube it, and you can learn you can do anything. There's videos on how to do anything.
Yeah.
Like literally just pick it and boom. Yeah, I want to do this.
Including how not to spend 7 hours a day on your phone.
Absolutely.
If I wanted
how many of these guys are like, stop scrolling, get back to work. What is it? They're your goals. Like, get back in the gym or do your stretches and your Pilates, your yoga and your breathing exercises and your, and the list goes on. And yeah, like half these guys, these influencers are just like yelling at you to like, okay, get on it, and I like that.
Sure.
I could throw out some controversial stuff, but take this for what it is. But like recently, very controversial guy, Andrew Tate, which is all on.
I don't know who he is, but.
Oh, really? Okay. Yeah. So anyways, a lot of viewers will know. Controversial. I get it. But he's putting out some videos where he's talking like very motivational stuff that's like, here's how you execute, and this is the mindset you need, and this is the key to like, you want to break through and get shit done, and fuck, I'm like, it's, I get a lot out of it. I don't mind hearing that. Like, fucking, somebody wants to yell at me for like, get off your ass and get this shit done. I'm like, cool. That's what I needed to hear.
Sick.
I needed to hear that I got a little too slack there. Let's go.
I wonder if there's the opposite, like the guy that's like slack more. So you're only at 7 hours a day.
Yes.
Get to 20.
As an Gary Vee?
No idea.
Holy shit, Eric. Okay, so Gary Vee, huge, well-known influencer, was like one of the, kind of original investors in like Facebook and Twitter, and like, the dude's built a media empire out of New York City. He's huge.
Sick.
Makes huge money. And so he's extremely, like, he's posting nonstop every day. But he's also like, listen, don't burn yourself out, and, find what you enjoy doing and pursue it, and, work hard when it's time to work, but, relax and take time to yourself when you need to. And like, he's one of these guys that's very much not just like, you need to grind 19 hours a day and fucking who needs sleep, but you can't hear that all the time. And that doesn't make sense. You need sleep. You need downtime. You need other like interests that'll, that you can relax and watch football and whatever it is you like to do.
Connection or whatever. Yeah.
Totally. Like, under no circumstance does it make sense to just work round the clock every day till you burn out and hate your life.
Right.
And your health goes.
Yeah,
it doesn't make sense.
Yeah,
don't let anybody say that.
Yeah, that's the big thing, is being healthy into our 50s.
Right.
Like, holy shit. So quitting drinking for me was a function of, the work I have to do to put out the show. Like,
yeah, okay.
I would hear my drunk voice on the show and be like, ooh, that's not great. So I would not drink on the night that I was recording the show.
So you got some energy, you're sharp, you can
and then
speak.
I kind of searched out for a while, like things that you could show up at a party with a water that looks like a beer and just drink and fit in with everybody.
Yeah. Nobody will ask, as long as that you're like, I drink the non-alcs quite often, mocktails and non-alc beers.
Perfect.
Nobody says anything. Nobody cares.
That's the thing. Nobody gives a shit what you
can make a joke of like,
sure, when they're getting wasted or whatever. But Yeah, I definitely have noticed that I could go to a bar with my friends, just order waters, because you only have to say, "I'll have a water," one time, and then
Shane's coming in.
oh, sick!
Give me 1 minute.
Thanks, Shane.
But yeah, so backing up a sec, like, you know, with the phones and social media that we have on us 24/7, and I spend almost every day, I'm in the gym at some point, so I'm like trying really hard to like stay on that stuff. I have been, usually springtime, I'll go to whatever local hills around Ottawa or Tremblant, Quebec, which are all close to Ottawa. Hit the park, and I can't help but like push myself and see, you know, can I still get the 3 and the 5, and, you know, can I do the cab 5 or the cab 7? I still have to kind of keep trying. I just want to see if it's there. I want to see. That's the game of, like, you know, is it like how it's like a barometer of, you know, is my body and mind still functioning the way it used to? Or anyway, so man, I feel like I can still hit that park and be okay.
Sick. So what like, gear are you in now? What kind of board are you riding?
I've got a Rome board, which
Sick.
I bought off Derek, the Rome rep from back when. I don't know if he's still doing it. But
he
anyway,
is. I just saw him the other day. Yeah.
And you know, I've got some Burton outerwear. Burton's one of the companies still doing snowboard gear, right?
Totally.
And
I've been getting Burton stuff this year, and I gotta say, oh man, their catalog is insane. They've got a Burton store here in Vancouver now on West 4th, so you can just go in and see the entire line and try stuff on. That's really key now with gear, right? Like, because a lot of shopping's gone to online shopping, but you can't really online shop for, like, I mean, I guess you could figure out gloves and shit.
I tried
like
it last
fun.
year with this Burton matching jacket and pants. So I was so pumped on it.
Yeah.
And then I got it, and it was enormous, like this the extra baggy.
So had you been in the store,
like,
you would have
that extra baggy style. I'm not there. Just like, nah, I'm too old to rock. I need to be like 16 years old to pull that one off.
Yeah.
So I returned it.
I went to a baggy fit this year. I love it.
Do you?
I love it. Yeah.
But this was like Burton's extra. Anyway,
dude, I get it. Yeah.
But like, going back to like, am I still writing it? And I want like this message to like anybody that's listening, that, you know, especially if they're even close to my age, like, you can keep doing all these things. And, you know, I'm a firm believer in this. Like, you can keep doing snowboarding in any sport if you want to put in the time and effort to stay on it. And, you know, health and fitness, I mean, it's the trend everywhere right now. There's no shortage of facilities, you know, if you want to go to classes and gyms and whatever. They're everywhere, right? On every corner.
Totally.
So there's kind of no excuse. But absolutely, like, don't ever let the, like, well, I'm this age, therefore I can't be doing this. And, like, that is a myth, you know? Like, I don't know what snowboarders or athletes out there that are still doing it at my age or trying to push themselves, but, like, I'm not subscribing to that mindset. Like, taking very, very good care of myself from, like, you know, the nutrition side of things, from like stretching 3 times a day, hitting the gym every day.
Sick.
And, like, you know, like cold plunge to sauna to breathing work, and, you know, and so on, just all of these things. And I get to that park and I'm like, okay, like, I'll start small. I'll 50-50 that rail, and then I'll board slide, and then I'll lip slide, and then I'll kind of slowly, I'm going to do a 180 and a 3 and a 5, and just go back to it and just slowly work through it. And, you know, and I'm kind of in my head, I'm like, fuck, am I still doing it at this age? Like, am I actually? But I fucking love it, and I love the challenge of, like, maybe I can land this. Like, let's see, you know, and push it, and fuck, man. So last year I was pushing it with, you know, some snowboarding, and in the gym, just kind of pushing a little too hard. And then I was playing hockey, and something went. Yeah. And I was like, fuck. So normally I don't go to the hospitals. I don't just find a lot of them are like, yeah, get them in, get them out. And, like, you know, I'm going to go way deeper into, you know, what's going on than a typical doctor might. say or do.
You'll go to physio or something.
Yeah, and I'm not against going to see these professionals. I think they're great and they do offer a lot of stuff, but I'm just going to do the research on my own to the best of my knowledge, and I'm going to go spend hours stretching it, rehabbing it, and doing what I got to do.
Cool.
And so after a number of weeks of like, I'm just limping, I show up at the gym and I'm limping, and everybody's like, why you're still limping? Like, what's wrong? I'm like, I don't really know, but my meniscus is gone in one knee, and it's bone on bone, and it's arthritis. And so I get in to see a doctor, and he's like, and I thought I needed an MRI. He's like, no, you need an X-ray. I'm like, I think I need an MRI. No, you need an X-ray. I'm like, okay. And this is like sends me to the X-ray clinic. I get the X-ray, go back to him with the X-rays, and he's like, there's nothing we can do. There's no saving this knee. It's bone on bone. It's arthritis all throughout. He's like, you can get a knee replacement, or you can come back every however often and get cortisone shots.
Yep.
And it'll kind of keep your knee lubricated, and and then I left that clinic. YouTube immediately, like, side effects of cortisone shots.
Yeah.
Bunch of videos about like how you're really not fixing anything. You're masking the problem, and it can lead to a lot more long-term issues.
Absolutely.
So I'm like, okay, that didn't work. So I get to another doctor who was a friend of a friend, is a younger guy. He looks at the X-rays. No, there's nothing we can do.
Oh, wow.
You get the knee replacement, or you work with what you have. Okay, well, I'm going to work with what I have. So this is now 6 weeks in, still limping. And I'm like, this is bullshit. So I, eventually find some videos where there's certain, professionals. One guy in particular out of Mexico that is like, I am treating and helping patients with bad knees, and surgery is your last resort. Don't do it. He's like, I've had many, many people come back from all these injuries, and despite what popular opinion is, meniscus and cartilage can regrow over time.
Oh, wow. And
you can fix these things. And I've always been a believer that anything can be healed, anything can be fixed.
Sweet.
So I start doing more exercise, because he's like, these are the exercises you need to focus on. I also ran into a guy at the gym. He was a military guy, and he's like, fuck, I had a knee injury, similar thing, blah, blah, blah. The cold plunging, cold therapy really worked well. And so getting that ice cold water on my knee, all inflammation goes right down. And like right away, I was like, fuck, it's feeling like, immediately started to feel better. And I was like, this is working. Just tripled down on that one. I'm like, okay, I'm going like ice cold water on my knee every day, 3 times a day. Like,
sick.
Let's go. And then we'll fast forward like 4 weeks. 4 weeks from when I was like limping around the gym. Up in Tremblant, sunny spring day in the park, and my buddy's there with the camera or the phone, and I'm like, let's do a couple lines here.
Sick.
And a couple back fives, like decent size.
Nice.
I had a line back 5 into a cab 7, and a cab 7 I slid out on. I was a little upset by it. But
landing switch off a 7.
But like, like a healthy like jump, not big, but big enough that I was like kind of proud of, and I was like, it was only 3-4 weeks ago, the doctor's like, there's nothing we can do. You need a knee replacement.
Yeah.
And here I am, 720, like cab 7 in the park, and at 49 years old on a knee that's fucking destroyed.
Right.
And that's where I'm like, you don't have to lie to yourself. Like, you can do anything. If you put your mind to it and you want it bad enough, you find a way, you know? And it's going to be like, the restrictions are going to be what you put on yourself. And I didn't think I would be in that spot. And I had buddies, I posted the videos, of course.
Yeah.
And I had buddies like, dude, don't you have a blown knee? Or like, I don't think this is the right, and like people, and I was like, I don't care what anybody says anymore. I'm going on what I feel I can do and what my knee tells me is acceptable. And I was feeling good and, blah, blah, blah. And so, going back to this conversation, like 50 years old, I will be in the park this March and April.
Yeah.
I will be throwing down, and I'm just for my own enjoyment to see what level I can hit. And I'm not letting anybody tell me that I can't.
Fucking love that stuff. Yeah, you don't quit skateboarding because you get old, or you don't quit snowboarding because you get old. You get old because you quit snowboarding or skateboarding.
Yeah, because
that's the quote from
right, and I'm seeing these people,
Phelps,
in all areas that they're getting old because they no longer have a goal or something to work towards.
Something they love, like snowboarding.
And they haven't kind of set that up for themselves where it's like, no, I'm going to get out there. I'm going to do it this year and I'm going to try and achieve this or whatever it is. But if you have those goals or those passions, you can keep doing them.
I found a little tell. If somebody complains about the weather, you know what I mean? If people are complaining about the weather, then they probably aren't enjoying some sport out in the weather. They're just staying away from weather. They're getting in their car in the morning and they're driving to their work, and then they're getting in their car in the evening and driving to their home, and they're never out in the weather. But they're like, oh, sure is shitty and rainy out today.
Well, that's also just tells you what their mindset is for almost everything in their life. Just that, you could just get a glimpse of this is how they you can't. Complaining is a go nowhere, negative, dead end. Just drop it. Doesn't matter where you are. It doesn't have to be the weather or the snowboarding or whatever. Just stop complaining.
Yeah. True.
Because the minute you do, you can then start focusing on what's good about this, what is positive here, and what could I spend that mental energy focusing on so that I can get ahead, or maybe I don't like the rain or whatever it is.
Sure.
Well, let's focus on where do you want sunshine? Go somewhere sunny. Be creative and constructive with your time and your energy. Dwelling on the past or dwelling on the what sucks in your life. I mean, that you're killing yourself. Yeah. That's a slow death. Get out of there.
Totally. Right on, Chris. Well, thanks for coming on the show. Thanks for coming all the way out here. How often do you get out? You get out once a year or something?
I want to try and do once a winter, come out here.
Yeah,
and,
man.
Visit. I'll make sure I let you know next time.
Please, it'd be nice to ride with you.
Yeah.
Take you to that Cypress spot. Try and remake the magic of that awesome cover.
Man, I go out there with a similar excitement and enthusiasm. Whenever I go out, unless it's bitterly cold and blowing snow sideways, or
Yeah, sure.
But on a weekend like this, it's sunny. I'm like a child again out there.
Yeah.
Let's love it.
Yeah.
So
same.
I'll absolutely be out and try and do once a winter, and I'll be riding back in Quebec and Ontario.
Killer.
The spring.
Well, thanks for sharing about your life in snowboarding, man.
Cheers, brother.
Cheers.
Appreciate it.
That was dope. FNRad shoutouts this week to Chris Steeves. Thanks for taking the time to do the show during your West Coast visit. Special thanks to our Patreon listeners. They get the show a day early and without ads. Join the FNRad Patreon if that sounds good to you. Extra special thanks to Adam Finley for reaching out with some helpful information about how smartphones and social media tax your spirit. I needed that this week with that 7 hours a day. Sheesh. Be sure to come back next week for more FNRad snowboarding presented by Flojoy Water and brought to you by FNRad Productions.